Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's October the 1st. This will be our chart lesson for today. I'm going to show you the trades I saw from about 7 a.m. through about lunchtime, maybe 1 o'clock. It really started out as a trading range day, but you could almost say from the open until now we've been in an uptrend. But you can see there's actually two perfect measured. You can see that was the trading range, the early trading range, and then there's the, there was the high during the second part. And I mean, so I show you that quite often. Just use the size of the first range to use your target for the next one, and you can see that. I mean, it's perfect. Don't get much better than that one right there. And it's basically a perfect measured move. And that's exactly where we turned down. And but there was, if you drew this trend line, and this trend line is just a clone of that one, or exact copy of it, and this one's just an exact copy of the other one, so it just copied it and moved it up. And so from here up, we used this trend line, and then we started a new trend basically in the upper side, and then you had a little trend channel coming down on the low side. We broke it, we retested the high, and then we went back to the high side again, and we broke a little higher. We could go higher. There's about 5 minutes left in the trading day. It's too late to be taking any trades, but so you could look at this a couple different ways. It basically was an uptrend until about 11:30, and then we had a little correction, and we've been trending up ever since then. So I really just saw this as a trading range day with two equal size trading ranges. And if that's not too hard to see that if you did see that. And the bias is still long. We still got a long bias, which is kind of what we what we had yesterday. Excuse me. And just remember, several people asked me that yesterday. Just remember that the bias, if you got a trading range, there's usually a bias to it. If you traded up into that range, the bias is still up. And if you traded down into that range, and you can see we traded up into this range, so the bias is to the upside, and it pretty much was moving up all for most of the trading day. And then we had about 11:30 to probably 2:30 correction, and then we've been trending up ever since. And that was a heck of a move up right there if you were in it. But let's talk about the trades, and then we'll wrap it up. The first trade I saw that really set up that was pretty nice was around 7 o'clock, and we had this what looked like a range, and we just come off a double top, and we were headed to the low side. And this is kind of what I'd call a breakout pullback short. It's a failed, on a bigger picture, it's a failed second entry. Notice there's one leg, even though there's two legs there, that's one leg, pullback, and then you get a second leg, and it tries to go higher, and it fails. And like I said, prices are usually heading somewhere, and they were probably coming to test this low to see what would happen. And nice, easy scalp. You didn't get anything. You didn't get any runners or anything. And then it was really risky going short after that because we're probably headed to the other side. But when we had this kind of a triple bottom and you get that little failed break, I like that long right there because this is definitely a trading range, and the bias is up. You get a chance to get in at the very low risk, small stop, and it just takes off. And of course they come back and get the break-even stops for the most part. Actually, I think they missed the break-even stops on this. They did. So if you held on to your stop, I exit. The idea is when you start to get in all this overlap, just exit your runners and look for a new entry. And that's the better thing to do rather than let it come all the way this far back and take, because you got a couple of 3 points there. So hang on to them and look for another entry. And then you got a failed second entry long here. It was tempting to still go long, but look at all this overlap. It's choppy. We broke higher and failed a couple of times here, and there's not really a good long setup right there. So by sitting tight, you get this failed. Notice the new high, first entry, pull back, second entry. It fails, it turns back down, and a good place to go short. It took it a minute to move on down, And you got to think that it's probably coming back down here, but guess what? It bounces here. And so draw your trend line right there. And then when it comes back here the next time, it bounces again, and you see that, you know, you can go long right there. And it was better to wait on this bar right here. And it's not bullish, but it's the first break up. And then maybe what you do is you just drop a limit order in there, and it would have gotten filled a tick or so back into that bar. And if not, just put your stop above this bar, and if it breaks above that one, that's 2 bars in a row. You don't know that it's going to take off like that, but if you held a runner, guess what? You could have ridden this all the way to the height of the next target. And I just showed you how to measure that a minute ago. And if you didn't do it that way, you might have done it this way. There's your first leg. There's your second leg, and look where it found resistance there and tried to go lower. A perfect measured move, but it broke higher yet still. So this was a really great entry. It's right off a suspected trend line. We're making higher lows here each time, and there's a good chance we're probably going back to this line right here. And even if you exited right there, you still could have got a few points out of that. And but hopefully you held on until, you know, what I'll start to do is if I do not want to exit yet, if I'm not sure we might not go higher, just start moving your stop. You know, wait till this forms and then put your stop right below the next bar, and you will see it would have just kept going higher, and you wouldn't have got stopped out. And I really like this one. It's a breakout pullback long, but it is very aggressive, and there's a lot of overlap right there. So that's why I drew this one in green, because you're going long at the very highs. But if you wanted to go long above that bar, and you didn't on my chart, there's a gap there, and so it took off really quickly. So unless you went long on a stop above this bar, you probably would have missed this trade. But it came right back, and you got another chance to enter here. And notice this is just a 2-legged pullback to the EMA. It's a second entry long. It's a nice bullish reversal bar off the EMA. And easy scalp. Again, they come back. And then guess what? You got all these matching lows. You break lower, and you should have drawn your trend line right up through there. I actually moved mine up. I originally had it right there, and we didn't quite get there, and that's where it bounced. But I kind of moved it up a little bit just to see if it touched, and it still fits in there. So either one of them's probably right, but it's probably more like that right there, because you get more touches right through there, and you can see all the bounces. But it didn't matter where you had it. It's the same thing either way. But you get this little failed break lower that turns up, and it traps everybody to the short side. It bounces off a possible little shorter term trend line, really the trend line from down, you know, on the way up here. And you might have even had it like that, or probably off those closes. And but a nice place to go long. And it's really one leg and then a little 2-legged correction, then another leg, and a chance to go long right there. This one took off a lot faster than I thought it would, just like this one did right here. This one, it filled that scalp really quickly. And if you entered right here, your runners would have been safe to take another leg up if you held on to any runners too. So, and then you just kind of got this pull back to the EMA, and there's a couple of, well, I don't know what happened there. I've never seen my chart do that. But there were a couple of little failed moves down, a nice little bounce right there. I like that one too. And then boom, up it heads to the other side. And then you had 3 bounces off this upper side. You've got a measured move. So you got to get a really good setup to go long again. Too much overlap in here to go long. And there really was a trap right there, failed second entry long. And I meant to circle that one in green, and I didn't come back and do that. It's a little more aggressive, but I think it's fine because you're coming off this high side. It's kind of a trap on a bigger picture. It's a little breakout pullback short kind of setup, and it did take a few minutes to work on down. I really like this one a whole lot better. It was probably better to wait on this one, but there is a little bit of a trap right there, and it's right off that line. But you really didn't have that trend line in place until you had these 2 swings, and then tried to go higher. You might have had it because it's, you know, you can get it off this side, and drag it up, and you see there it fits perfect. But you may not have had that in place, so so it's not really a good entry there yet, because that's just your first two swings, and then you need a confirmation of it. So it's better to wait. This was the next real confirmation. This was close enough because the line could be right there like so off those closes. So that one's, if you took that one, it was okay, but it's better to kind of wait for some more confirmation, and you got it right there, and then look at that move down. More of the smarter traders probably waited right here, and you can tell because then look at it go, and it goes straight to the other side. And it was tempting to mark this one or take this short as well, but you've got this line down here to contend with, and so I thought it was a little risky. It would have worked. It would have taken a little while, and it would have worked. But you notice how we reversed out there and then headed up, and so I didn't mark that one. I didn't mark anything after that. But it's a pretty good trading day. If you didn't understand what's going on, that you got a trading range and then now you've got an equal one up here, it might have been a little more difficult, because I had at least one email, somebody telling me that they really, they actually saw what I'm seeing here, but they just weren't quite sure how to trade it. And you just have to wait on the traps. And both of these you could have treated. And I don't have the lines on there. Well, let me just put them on there and show you what it looks like once you see the lines. And it really helps to draw these lines. When you start to get a bunch of matching lows like that, draw the line. And you can see that one little trap and then the reversal, and it closes on its eye. And there's two legs back. That's about as good as it gets on a strong move up. And this is a pretty strong move up. And then again, you kind of get the same thing right over here. And you probably heard me talk about repeat patterns before. When you see a setup, look how much similar this looks to this. And if something works once during the day, it's probably going to work again. And there it is again, almost the same entry. A little failed break lower, turns up. And then even this one looks similar to it. Got your little matching lows across there and the little break, and then it turns up again. So, and you're looking for prices to come up to this line. I mean, if you saw the range down here and you draw your line like so, you put it up there, and so you're looking for prices to come to right here, and look where it goes to the tick, and then it sails off and comes right back down, and it tests this. Previously this was resistance, and now it's acting as support. It tested it multiple times here before it bounced and went higher. And you could have scalped out this. You might have scalped on this one, but this was really either entering here or here, and this was not a very good entry bar. It would have been nice if it would have ticked lower there and then turned up, but it never could. And look how bearish that bar looks, and when it couldn't go below there, that's a good sign. It's really late in the day, but that's a good sign that we're probably going higher. And if you look at this trend line, that's the first break. And guess what? We get a break and we go to a new high, just like price action is expected to do. And so, it's really late in the day to be doing any of that, but I felt like it was interesting enough to talk about it. So, and there really was a line that you could have drawn right across. It kind of moved along as we went along, but you can see that right there, and that might have tempted you to take that trade right there as well, coming down short. And I thought hard about that one. I almost circled that one, but we're moving up and we're making higher highs and higher lows here for the most part. We're just finding resistance here. So without waiting on a second entry, it's a little bit risky. And there really is a second entry counting off this, but you're better off to take the second entries off the high. And I got several questions about that yesterday. It was a setup similar to this when prices got back up to the high, and some people got tricked there. And this is why you wait on a second entry up here. And you see you never really got a first entry, at least not on my chart. It never broke lower there. And but what I'd want to do is wait on that first entry and let it come back and try it again, and then get the second entry. And like right here, notice it touched it the first time. Don't take that one. Wait on the second entry right there, and then it goes. Then you would have got your scalp. You would have had to ride out a little pullback again, but you still would have got your scalp. And here it is again. It comes down. It makes another new low, but don't take that one. Wait on the second entry, and look, it would have worked. And same thing here. There's your first entry when it comes back, and then you get a second entry here, and you know it's always best to wait on that second entry for confirmation. And I hope that makes sense. So, and that's really about it today. I'm trying to keep these a little shorter. They've been getting long. So, just trying to think if there's anything else worth talking about today. But that's pretty much it. I just saw a trading range. We broke above it, and we created an equal trading range on the other side. And it looks like we broke a little bit lower here, and now we broke a little bit higher on the upside. Only to see prices come right back inside again. So, but that's going to be it for today. I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.